Welcome, everybody, to the WWE Raw post show here. It's Monday, March 14th. No Cody.
No Cody.
We can't believe it. And we're going to pay a tribute to the bad guy. We're out of breath. We're running into the studio. Let's get this show started.
Woo!
Yes, indeed. Welcome to the show.
Hey, yo.
Hey, yo. How many of you people came to see WCW?
Ooh.
And how many of you people came to see the NWO? Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, we're going to talk about the bad guy here tonight on the show. Rest in peace, Razor Ramon. One of our favorites, Scott Hall.
Certainly.
We love him. We're going to talk about Raw as well, but we got to start the show talking about Razor. Of course, the shock of no Cody Rhodes tonight at the end of Raw. I think a lot of people were expecting the Codester to show up at the end of this show that seemed designed for him to make a surprise appearance.
Yeah.
Like nothing else
They were
really.
in Jacksonville.
They were in Jacksonville. Nothing else was really happening. It was a show revolving around Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins, and it was really all about them. They opened the show with a promo. Kevin Owens talking about Stone Cold Steve Austin and his match thing with Austin at WrestleMania. And then Seth and Kevin are backstage, and Seth is trying to find a way to be at WrestleMania, and Kevin's giving him a pep talk saying, you got to come up with an idea. And then Seth does a long promo in the ring where he calls Kevin Owens out and says, well, I'm going to have a talk show at WrestleMania, and it's going to be Freakin' Speakin' or Talkin' Freakin' with Seth Rollins, and Stone Cold's going to be my guest. And Kevin Owens is like, no, that's my plan. And then they do this whole long promo, and Sonya Deville comes out, and she says, yes, that's a great idea. We'll have a match, and if Seth wins, he will get to host the Kevin Owens show or whatever with Stone Cold Steve Austin at Mania. And then we have the main event. The main event match is this long match. It was pretty good, probably the best match we saw all night. And Kevin winds up beating Seth. No Cody.
No.
Like, they're in Jacksonville. The crowd was chanting Cody's name at one point with Seth when Seth was doing a backstage promo talking about what he's going to do at WrestleMania. The rumors are out that Cody versus Seth is supposed to be one of the matches at WrestleMania. They're in Jacksonville, Florida, a place that was the home of AEW during the pandemic for nearly a year. And
Also, if you're bringing in Cody Rhodes, you don't want to cut it too close to WrestleMania. You want him to have some time to come in, explain why he's there, what he's there to do before you just have him have a match, you know? He should cut a promo before. And I think Seth said we're like, now, 2 Raws left before Mania? I think he said like we're 3 weeks away or something like that. Less
two
than
more
3.
Raws.
So there's only 2 more Raws left, so that doesn't give you much time to really establish anything unless you're going to have Cody debut at WrestleMania.
I mean, next week they're in Chicago. If they're going to do it, I mean, they're not going to do it on the 28th in Pittsburgh. They're not going to do it the last Monday before Mania. Chicago was also a big home for AEW, a big base for their pay-per-views and stuff. I could see them waiting until Chicago, but it felt like tonight was the night. A lot of people online were expecting Cody. I put out a tweet, is Cody showing up here at the end of this match? And a lot of people thought that he was going to be there.
I remember while we were watching, because during the Seth and Kevin promo during the halfway through the show, we hear someone go like, guys, or hold it, you know, and we thought it was Brandy Rhodes.
Yeah, it
interrupting.
It was like, who's coming out here to interrupt the Seth Kevin promo? It felt like Brandy, but
it was Sonya.
It was Sonya Deville setting up a match that, like, you figured Kevin was going to find a way to win, because if he didn't, like, first of all, what the hell? That would have been upsetting. Like, you have this whole thing with Kevin and Texas and Stone Cold and the Stunners and all that, and then at the end you're like, well, we have nothing for Seth, so we're just going to give this to Seth. Like,
I
that would have been
honestly-
upsetting, but WWE does that sometimes.
I honestly thought that was going to happen tonight because the way they were treating Kevin tonight compared to Seth was just showing the kind of like disrespect they have for Kevin. Like the idea that they're going to like steal the show and just move it over, and that feels so plausible. And the audience was even like on Seth's side for like taking over. Like they were like, they weren't really on Kevin's side. Even though
it was worrisome in a way.
It felt like completely plausible, like something they would do.
Yeah.
And then like it would be Seth interviewing Stone Cold, and then Kevin Owens would like interrupt that, but he gets it taken away from him at the same time.
Yeah.
It really felt plausible.
It was a possibility, but it just didn't make a lot of sense that Seth would then take over this thing that Kevin has built with Stone Cold, and Stone Cold's already gone through the trouble of doing this, very produced promo from the Broken Skull Ranch about Kevin Owens and WrestleMania. Like, Austin's not going to go through that trouble if they're going to switch it to Seth. Like, I couldn't imagine Stone Cold watching this being like, they're going to do Seth? Like, what do you mean, Seth?
Hey,
like,
pal,
what?
I owe you one.
Yeah, like, I don't think Stone Cold would have been too happy with that. But the rumors are out that Cody Rhodes is supposed to be Seth's opponent. They're in Jacksonville. Tonight felt like the night, and when the show ended, you're just like, what?
Yeah.
What do you mean? It just ends like, so Kevin beats Seth in the main event. It was a pretty good match. At one point, Kevin hit the fall-away slam on the outside to Seth Rollins. Fall-away slam, a move made very famous. The first guy I ever saw do it was Razor Ramon in the WWF, and he did the fall-away slam, and then Kevin kind of put his arms out a bit like Razor style, but very briefly, and then he went back into being Kevin Owens. But I thought that was a little tribute. Of course, he opened his promo to start the show with "Hey Yo," so that was good.
He was the only one I actually noticed doing any kind of Razor.
Damian Priest did a Razor's Edge on the table.
Oh yeah, Priest, and I think Priest in his intro, I think did he did like the little surfer walk. I think Priest might have.
Like Damian Priest did a Razor's Edge on the table on Finn Balor, right?
That's true.
In their match.
Okay, that was another homage.
Yeah, a couple. They did the great video package too, of course, for Razor. So Seth pushes Kevin Owens into the corner at one point. The referee has to get out of the ring to avoid them. Seth rolls up Kevin. The ref is not there. Seth has like a 5 count on Kevin. The ref comes in. 1, 2. Kevin kicks out. Seth starts arguing with the referee. Turns around. Goes to hit his stomp. Kevin avoids it. Kick to the gut. Stunner. 1, 2, 3. Kevin Owens beats Seth Rollins. And at the end of that match, Seth is sitting there in the ring, and you expect Cody's music to hit, and Cody to come out, but nobody came out. I think the crowd in Jacksonville was probably let down. I think they expected to see something.
For sure.
And I think most people watching Raw that are kind of in the know in any kind of way, like if you watch wrestling on a regular basis or semi-regular basis, you were expecting Cody to show up here, and he didn't.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, it was disappointing. I wanted, because if Cody shows up tonight, you're like, oh, Cody, okay, Cody's here, Cody and Seth, all right. But now, if Cody shows up next week in Chicago, you're like, all right, here we go.
It's a little late.
Like next week, it's like, okay, well, he's got to be there. And if he's not there, well, they're not doing it then. And then maybe Cody's not going to the WWE, because there's a lot of talk of like Cody and Seth being the plan, but Cody maybe not having his deal finalized. Like, I think that was with a Meltzer, what he reported. It's
and talks have fizzled.
The Cody story right now is super weird. The fact that he didn't show up tonight makes you wonder, like, is there a different path for Cody? Is he going to wrestle Seth at Mania?
Or is Seth Rollins just going to show up during the KO show now? Like, he's just going to interrupt and be like, I want to be a Mania, and he'll eat a stunner too.
Maybe they set that up tonight. Like, that was the setup for the backup plan.
Yeah.
He'll
just eat another stunner.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe have a bit of a beer. But like how Austin has a beer bash with someone and then makes them eat a stunner? He's like, oh, I didn't think he'd stunner,
Yeah.
Some babyface. He could do that.
Harold Schneider dropping a super chat. Harold Schneider says, I still think Cody's going to ROH. Thank you, Harold.
So, run it? Kind of?
Possibly run it, be like a player coach type of thing, be the top guy in Ring of Honor. It's possible. It's possible. Shout out to Angelo Contagonis in the chat. Doug Hepburn renewing his membership. Been a member for 15 months. Rob Cluse in the chat wants to know where Johnny North is. Rob Cluse, of course, a member of the team as well. Shout out to Rob. Johnny's not here on Monday nights. It's a Simon Brother experience on Monday nights, brother. And, of course, Doug Hepburn says Johnny takes no days off. This is not a day off for Johnny. This is just not his night. He's on Wednesdays. I mean, he's welcome to come on any Monday night, but Johnny, I think, prefers to not watch Raw and just watch the recaps here on the Ringside Report Network, which we appreciate all you guys doing here tonight, as we are just 3 weeks away from WrestleMania. 2 more episodes of Raw before Mania. Shout out to all the members. Harold Schneider, Ray Cruz in the chat, Doug Hepburn, Jason Pete, Angelo Contagonis. I'm seeing a lot of members here tonight. Of course, Rob, my buddy Rob.
Good to see you, Rob.
So no Cody. Disappointing. Disappointing that we don't see Cody Rhodes, and it makes you wonder, is he going to show up? So I guess it's not. I don't think it would be a letdown next week. It's hard to predict how you're going to feel in a week when somebody shows up or not, because at this point it depends on the news and like what people kind of say and what leaks over the next 7 days. But if we still are kind of unsure whether Cody has signed a contract or not, and he does show up on Raw next week in Chicago, I think it'll still be a big deal. But I don't know.
It's
weird.
Felt like the best timing and like the most appropriate, considering where the Kevin and Seth story was and going forward. Unless Seth just cuts a promo next week saying, I want to be at Mania, Cody interrupts him, says, I'll wrestle at Mania, and just that's it,
Yeah, that's it.
Cody could show up and just point at the sign and then walk away.
Yeah, it felt like it would have been a cooler moment had Cody shown up tonight rather than him showing up next week and like doing a promo or whatever. I think he would have got a huge pop in Jacksonville. They were chanting his name already. I think the fans would have been into it. He would have come in as a huge baby face. He wouldn't have had to say anything. Just point at the sign, and then him and Seth for Mania, and you're good.
I think another reason why we're disappointed is we want a reason to be excited for Mania. We we want like a little. I mean, not that like Cody's a huge.
Cody and Seth, does that really do anything for you though? Like, it's all right.
It's not the worst thing, and like it's not a match at Mania that I'm like rolling my eyes at.
I'm more excited
I'm rolling my eyes at a lot of Mania matches.
Like I'm more excited about AJ Styles and Edge because I think the match will be great. But goddamn, this Edge build is killing me.
Ooh!
It is killing me.
Which was the worst promo, this week or last week?
I don't know. It just seems to get worse and worse every week.
He changed his music?
No more On This Day I See Clearly. It's some other theme song for Edge.
Generic metal. I'm sure it's probably like Adam Copeland's one of his like favorite bands.
I think it's it sounded like the same singer.
Yeah.
It's probably Alter Bridge.
Alter Bridge.
Again.
Former members of Creed.
And he's got new music and like dark lighting, like purple lights on him. And he's talking about how he's the best in the industry and the fans mean nothing to him now. And he was distracted by the fans and it was their fault that Randy Orton was able to hurt his shoulder and Seth Rollins was able to piss all over his territory. And Edge says that the fans distracting him and trying to play to the fans allowed the cosplayer Aquaman, Roman Reigns, who couldn't lace his boots, to stack pin him at WrestleMania. I thought it was that was the best part of the promo where he called Roman Reigns like a fake Aquaman,
Yeah, because he looks like Jason Momoa.
Yeah, and he said that he couldn't lace his boots. Like, there's some truth in that, and nobody really says those things about Roman on WWE TV.
No. Didn't like Riddle once tweet something about like he's a better wrestler than Roman and like he kind of caught a lot of heat for that?
Yeah, like Edge saying kind of mean but true things about Roman Reigns on WWE TV was surprising. That was the most surprising, interesting part of this promo. But he's not feuding with Roman Reigns. He's feuding with AJ Styles. And I don't know. He's also building this new character. He says, that Edge, the Edge that lost to all those guys and wrestled those matches, he's dead, and this is the new Edge. And
He's edgier.
I don't like the new Edge. I like the old Edge. Can we get the Rated R Superstar back? Because this, like Undertaker Edge or Aleister Black Edge or whatever it feels
very
like
Aleister Black.
Yeah, it feels like Aleister Black is giving Edge a script for his promos now. Or Edge saw Aleister Black and is like, that's cool. Let me do my version of that. Hey, we fired Aleister Black. Cool. Let me do his gimmick in WWE now. And it sucks. It's so bad.
The weird purple lighting.
And it feels like Edge is behind a lot of it. You know, like, he's got creative say in this. This is his baby.
He wrote it.
He loves this shit. He thinks this is great.
He thinks he's like, doing like Shakespeare monologues.
You can kind of tell when you're watching it. It's like, he likes this shit, but he's the only one. Maybe there's some people backstage that are kissing his ass like, oh, Edge, you're really doing some new stuff.
You're making a movie?
Oh, man, Edge, it's like a movie out there when you're out there. Bruce Pritchard, you could hear him saying, hey, Edge, you're great. Oh, it was so bad. So bad. A lot of bad promos tonight. Edge's was maybe the worst. Like Randy and Riddle.
And the Profits, that was pretty rough.
The Randy Orton and Matt Riddle tag team championship celebration was also pretty awful. Randy's like, hey, I did this celebration for us. Look, the balloons are like not fully up, and I tried my best. And Riddle's like, I love it, Randy. Thank you. I love you. And then the Street Profits come out, and they're like, congratulations on winning the belts, but we'd like to wrestle you at WrestleMania.
That's a good Montez Ford impression.
That's kind of how he talks.
Yeah. It's a weird robot.
Yeah, we'd like to wrestle you at WrestleMania. He's like maybe not a real person. Maybe he is a robot. I'm not sure. I haven't opened him up and seen inside. Who knows? But he has children, so I assume he's a human. Montez is all in the face of RK Bro, and Randy gets a little bit mad, and then Riddle calms him down, and then Randy accepts the challenge for WrestleMania, so Street Profits versus RK Bro is official for WrestleMania, and then at the end, Montez says, now this is where things got out of control here, guys. Montez starts to leave, and he says, maybe next time I'll show you how to throw a party that isn't so ass.
And he did a little sniff.
And he's like, and I was like, are you saying that it smells like butts in here, like farts or something? Or are you just saying that this party sucks? It was unclear because if you're saying like this party is ass without the sniff, it's like, oh, you're saying this party sucks. I get it. I understand what you're doing. But when you're doing the sniff and then you say ass, you're like, well, what do you mean? Like, does Randy smell or
Did
something?
Riddle fart?
And Riddle gets like really mad about it, and he's like, roar, we should have a match now. Let's not wait for WrestleMania.
Ass.
Just ass. Smelly ass. How dare you, Montez?
And like, you can't insult Randy.
Yeah, and he was like mad because Randy planned the party and Riddle was defending his girlfriend Randy. And then Riddle beat Montez by disqualification. I don't know, it was like a double disqualification because the Alpha Academy came out, and this is the best part of this whole goddamn thing, that Randy called a segment. Because Randy at one point, Randy's like, Montez was like going to end, was like trying to finish the promo, and Randy's like, no, we're not going to end the segment like this. And I'm like, God damn, could you pretend it's like a wrestling show and not like a TV scripted drama that you're doing here? Segment. So then the Alpha Academy beat up Randy. Like, Otis shows up out of nowhere, tosses Randy into the barricade. Riddle comes out to help Randy, Riddle's in the match. Otis, like, slams Riddle. And then Gable's in the ring. He starts beating up the Street Profits. Otis joins him. And then they point at the WrestleMania sign. So I think it's going to be Alpha Academy, Street Profits, and RK Bro, which is what I always thought was going to happen. I was hoping that they weren't going to keep Alpha Academy just kind of out of the match because they were the champions and they just lost, and they deserve to be in this WrestleMania match if they're going to have one. So I think it's going to wind up being Street Profits versus RK Bro versus Gable and Otis, but not official yet. So far the match is RK Bro versus the Profits, but Alpha Academy should get added in. It's possible that WWE has already, put them in on Twitter or something,
Yeah, but you figure they put them in because
it'll be there.
Make the match a lot more interesting. So they'll probably beat the Street Profits next week in a match and earn their right to be in the Mania tag team match.
Yeah.
And hopefully win the belts back.
Yeah.
I'm hoping.
I would love to see them win the belts back because I think that they're the best tag team in that division right now on Raw. So
I'm hoping that when they come out of Mania, they're like super over. Everyone's going, oh, thank you.
Yeah.
It'd be nice. It'd be nice if, like,
well, that's it.
When they come out of Mania, they get, like, appreciated by the crowd.
Like, Gable's got the catchphrases. It's getting over with us. We can't be the only guys that it's getting over with, It can't be just us. Thank you.
Shoosh.
Shoosh.
I'm sure there's more on the way.
Yeah, Gable's got something. We've known that Gable's had something for a while.
Ready, willing, and Gable.
Yeah, and,
Brilliant.
Like, Jason Jordan wasn't very interesting until he met Chad Gable, and then all of a sudden they were one of the best tag teams in the world, right? Mm-hmm. So, hopefully the Alpha Academy gets somewhere. I want to talk about Razor Ramon. Let's talk about Razor Ramon. I'm seeing a lot of people, talking about Razor Ramon. Anthony Plessia, member of the team, he says, rest in peace, Scott Hall, one of my favorite characters of all time. Even AJ on the chat. Danny Brook Media, AJ D'Alessio, my main man. He says, hey, guys, I'm sad about Razor. Even AJ. I remember one time he thought Roman Reigns was Razor Ramon.
Yeah, because they have the kind of like white hair.
Yeah, he's like, who's that, Razor Ramon? And I was like,
Wish.
Yeah, it would be weird if Razor Ramon still looked that good in 2020 or whatever year it was when AJ saw WWE TV and thought Razor Ramon was still there. But no, it was Roman Reigns, unfortunately. Razor Ramon was when I first saw Scott Hall. I know that he was in the AWA before and WCW before.
Diamond Stud.
He had like a pretty solid career before he became Razor Ramon, but he was kind of like a journeyman wrestler. Like he was a wrestling star, but he wasn't like a wrestling superstar. And of course, the WWF made him like known to everybody. And I gotta wonder, like, what year did Razor Ramon come out? 1992?
1 or 2?
It was. So I was a very young kid when Razor Ramon first started, and he was just awesome right off the bat. Mm-hmm. Razor Ramon character started in 1992. And of course, Scott Hall came up with this character, based it on Scarface. Vince McMahon did not know about Scarface. I don't think Vince had seen the movie. And Razor's like, hey, Vince, you seen Scarface? This guy, Tony Montana, I think I could do a gimmick. And Vince loved it. I think he showed the movie to Vince, and Vince was like,
clips.
This is great. Yeah.
It's like Goodnight to the Bad Guy, the final, standoff.
So Scott Hall decides to do this Scarface base gimmick in WWF, and they come up with the name Razor Ramon. And the catchphrase is right off the bat, hey, Chico, using machismo.
The toothpick,
the hair, the look, everything. The razor's edge, like the finishing.
The music with the car skidding off the
God,
road.
That music was so
you
good.
You knew trouble was happening when you heard everyone stood up.
The finish. It was so devastating. He would pick you up, get you up there, and boom, crash you down to the mat like a incredible bomb move, the razor's edge. He was everything, and as Razor Ramon, I remember his feud with Bret the Hitman Hart for the Intercontinental Championship. Of course, the famous ladder match with Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 10. His whole feud with Shawn Michaels over the Intercontinental Championship. I mean, Razor Ramon was one of the guys in that WWF new generation. When the post-Hogan era of WWF, like he comes in 92, Hogan leaves in 93, and Razor's there till about 95,
Yeah,
96.
Razor had a match at WrestleMania 9, I'm pretty sure. The Caesar's Palace Mania, I'm pretty sure Razor was on that card.
Yeah, so Razor's there till 96 when he goes to WCW.
Yeah.
So he has, a 3-4 year run in the WWF, which isn't that long. If you think about it, not that long as Razor Ramon, but the impact and the amount of things that he did and the classic matches that he had. And people don't always give the credit to Razor as a great worker because he had the promo and the look, and because he's so big, a lot of times you don't give the credit to those huge guys. And because he worked with Shawn Michaels in that ladder match, a lot of people gave the credit to Shawn because he's Shawn. But, you know, it takes two to tango, and Razor was in there, and
great dancing partner.
He was fantastic. Of course, the stuff with the 1-2-3 Kid, I mean, people still talk about that to this day. It's the kind of thing that's iconic in professional wrestling, like Hulk Hogan slamming Andre the Giant at WrestleMania 3. Like, everybody remembers when the 1-2-3 Kid hit that moonsault and pinned Razor Ramon on Raw.
He was just the Kid before that. The 1-2-3 from the Razor match made him the 1-2-3 Kid.
Right. And, you know, all of that. Like, you remember all those moments from Razor Ramon, and just that run was huge. But then WCW, and the NWO, and Hey Yo, and Survey Time. I mean, all the catchphrases when you're NWO,
the Outsiders,
you're NWO for life. You know, like all that stuff. The Outsiders, the Wolfpack, the Cattle Prod on Goldberg. Like, you know, he did so much.
Huge. He
was such an important character in professional wrestling. Him showing up on Nitro changed the wrestling business forever, made it bigger than ever, and he was just monstrous at that time when he came out. And then, of course, Kevin Nash and then Hogan joined up, and the NWO was formed. Like, it was huge. And if you weren't around to experience it, I don't know if you can really grasp how massive it was, and how, like, everybody was talking about it. Every kid at school was talking about it. Like, it was a big deal. It was pop culture. It was mainstream.
I honestly...
And Scott Hall was, like, you know, one of the stars of the most mainstream wrestling group of all time.
I honestly believe. I think that's what got me to pay attention to WCW.
Mm-hmm.
The only knowledge, because we didn't really get WCW television. Like, we got maybe the Saturday shows, maybe Worldwide and Saturday Night, but like maybe not quite then. Maybe it was like after, in the later 90s. But like all I knew about WCW was I think he had a couple comic books and like a Sting action figure. Yeah. But it felt like some like faraway relic.
I had trading cards too. I had old WCW trading cards.
Yeah.
That's how I knew
but
what
it
WCW
felt like this
was.
Completely different thing.
It was this thing in the States somewhere, I think in, like, we didn't really know. It was like this American wrestling
white-haired old guy is the number one guy.
Yeah, this Ric Flair guy that we didn't really know until he came to WWF until like 93.
Like, Johnny B. Bad is like who I knew from
all
WCW.
We really got TV-wise as kids here in Montreal where we grew up is, WWF TV, Superstars pretty much. But, all that WCW stuff. But then... I do remember seeing. I remember distinctly what happened. I broke my ankle, so I couldn't move around too much. So I was sitting around watching TV, flipping through the channels, and it was like a Saturday night, and it was WCW Saturday Night, I think, that they started showing because WCW started gaining momentum. And here's, Razor Ramon and Kevin Nash and Hulk Hogan, and it's like, I know these guys, but they're doing this different thing, and they're not in WCW, like they didn't associate with WCW. So I'm like 10, 11 years old. I'm seeing this, and I'm like, is this? Like, I know wrestling is kind of, not real, but is this real? Like, it was confusing at the time, and I wasn't the only one that was kind of looking at this like, is this an invasion? Like, is that what's going on here? And Scott Hall was a big part of that. Like, Scott Hall was a great mind for professional wrestling, very creative. He created the Sting character, the Crow character. He said, you should do this. You've seen this movie, The Crow. You should be doing this and being all dark and quiet and putting the face paint on. Like, he gave him that whole thing that Steve Borden is still doing to this day.
Yeah.
To this day, he's still doing that gimmick. Scott Hall gave that to him. And I'm sure there are tons of stories, and I look forward to hearing some of those stories over the next weeks and months about people who got a lot of ideas and a lot of creativity from Scott Hall. The guy was an incredible talent. Huge, had an amazing look, huge, handsome, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Handsome for a man.
Our mom loved him.
Yeah.
She was the only one. It was the only one who she would like talk about. She'd go, "Oh, Razor Ramon, I love Razor Ramon."
Yeah. Our mom loved Razor Ramon. She thought he was the most handsome wrestler. Yeah. Handsome man. Giant guy. Could wrestle. Could talk. I mean, he could do it all. And never was the WWF champion. He did wrestle Stone Cold Steve Austin at a WrestleMania, though. I mean,
yes, he did.
And Austin was pissed about that.
He should have been.
Because he wanted to wrestle Hogan.
Yeah.
You know?
And just everything he did was cool.
Yeah, he was very cool. Like, the stomping on the ground and doing the point to your thumbs and then doing this. Try doing that and looking halfway cool.
It's not easy.
My brother, before we were watching Raw, he's like, I could never do that thing. And I was like, I think I could do that thing. I started doing it. I'm like, this doesn't look cool when I do it. It looked really lame. I'm not even going to attempt it here on camera because it looks really lame. You know? Scott Hall doing that weird thing where he would bop, and then and like he would jump in the ring, point to himself with double thumbs, and then do the thing with his arms out. And it was like the coolest thing you ever seen in your life. I don't know how he made that look cool. Him, WrestleMania 10, going under the ladder. Because at that time, I don't know if it's still a superstition, but like I remember, like you don't go under the ladder because it's bad luck if you go under a ladder. You go around a ladder. You never pass underneath the ladder. And Scott Hall, before he's going into this ladder match, this bad guy, he goes under the ladder doing the pose. And it was the coolest thing ever. And it's iconic. Like, they still show that because it was so cool.
Or you brought up
Scott Hall fingers.
Ooh.
This, people still do that
I love
to
doing
this
that.
day. And it's people.
It gets under people's skin.
People do that thing, and it's like, it's not even Scott Hall that does that. It's like an iconic thing. There's a GIF. And I think I could show this.
What is that? Oh, it's just...
I mean, there's one of Cena doing it, right? There's a GIF of John Cena doing it. I think it's at the Hall of Fame. Like, Rock says something to him, and then Cena goes, "Ooh!" But that's Scott Hall. Yeah. That's Scott Hall fingers.
100%.
And like, I think he invented that. Yeah. I don't know if he had copyright on that. I don't know where that came from. I would love to know the story of where the Scott Hall fingers came from. I really would.
Yeah.
But look at this. There's George St. Pierre. The greatest fighter ever. He's doing Scott Hall fingers because I think Nick Diaz was like, George St. Pierre, you're not, you know.
And he's going, ooh.
Where are you at, George? I think, where are you at, George?
Yeah.
And George was in the crowd, and he's like, oh, you're not hurt, George. And there's, where are you at, George? And then George is like, ooh, I'm so scared. And he's doing the Scott Hall fingers. George has seen Scott Hall. He knows where that comes from. George is a wrestling fan. I could find the Cena one, too. There's one of Cena that's kind of famous. And that was like an iconic hand gesture that he came up with. And he came up with a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Not just the thumbs. He had the fingers. He had the arms. He had the little you know, like, and he looks so the toothpick. Like, he looks so cool doing everything. He may have been the coolest wrestler ever. Like, him,
definitely maybe top 5.
and Kevin Nash were cool.
Yeah.
And it was like, I've never seen. I can't
they
find.
They were cooler than
one.
Hogan.
Oh, yeah. Hogan was like kind of the older guy that they kept cool. Yeah. But they were like legit cool. And now when you see wrestlers, I can't think of any of them that are actually cool. You know what I mean? Like, who do you see that you're like, oh, this guy's kind of cool. Like, he's like into cool shit and he seems kind of cool. You know who seems... You know the only wrestlers that kind of seem cool in WWE?
Like cool to hang out with or like just cool people?
They just seem like cool guys.
Xavier Woods?
Don't seem like weird or kind of, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of wrestlers are kind of, like, there's like something, you know? especially in WWE, like nobody comes off like cool. Like
Kevin Owens is kind of cool.
Kevin Owens is kind of cool, but like I think Kofi, Big E, and Woods are all pretty cool guys. You know what I mean? Like they seem pretty cool.
Yeah. It's like normal.
You know? But not like Scott Hall and Kevin Nash.
No.
You know what I mean? Like it's something else. Carlito was cool. That's true. But not
but Carlito, took some stuff from Razor Ramon.
He didn't have that flavor. They had a swagger, they had a confidence. The confidence too was something else with those guys. Like they were just, and they would mess with people. Scott Hall, he would mess with a lot of people.
And he had a great mind for the business.
Oh yeah.
There's a story where like early on when Hall and Nash were like doing the invasion thing, and they like took on like half the roster. They had like baseball bats, and after the show, like they're backstage with Bischoff, and Bischoff is like beside himself. He's like, "This is fantastic. I'm gonna sink Vince in like two years. He's done." And then Hall is like, "Bro, people think Vince sent us, and like they were cheering for us while we like stood up to your roster. It's not gonna be like that easy." Like he could tell, he could see.
He
through
was
it.
smart.
Yeah,
he was so
See
smart.
the forest for the trees.
He was so smart. He killed a man too.
Yeah, in self-defense.
In self-defense, he had to kill a man. He had to shoot a guy.
He had his demons.
In self-defense, and that was one of the reasons. Like people think, oh, Scott Hall, he just drank and he had these problems, and that's why he was, just another wrestler. No, like he had things that he battled. Like he was a bouncer, and something happened, and there was an incident, and there was a guy that was coming after him, and it was Scott or this other guy, and this other guy, unfortunately, had to die. And that, haunted him.
That gives you post-traumatic stress
disorder.
Yeah.
So, no wonder he drank. You know what I mean? Like, he had some issues. Add to that the wrestling and the lifestyle and everything that they were doing. And it's amazing. DDP was able to bring him back, clean him up. Like, he was in a really bad way where you thought, maybe 10 years ago.
Over 10 years ago.
Yeah, like Scott, I think, got a new lease on life because of DDP and everything. And it's just so unfortunate the way that Scott Hall passed away, too. He goes in for hip surgery, obviously something that he needed. I think he
fell.
I think he was. I think he
broke his hip or something.
Yeah, I don't know. But, I mean, obviously, you're going to have trouble walking. It's just going to be difficult. You need to go in for that surgery. And unfortunately, sometimes in surgery, things happen and your heart gives way, and that's what happened to Scott Hall.
Yeah.
And it's too bad. It's really sad. Only 63 years old. I mean, the guy was a pretty young man. He lived a hard life, but
his body
he had cleaned up his life. You know what I mean? And it's just the wear and tear of everything may have contributed to it, or maybe not. Maybe not. No. You don't really know.
Yeah, sometimes, when you go in for surgery and you're lying down for a while, things can happen.
Look, Kanye West's mother, right? Donda West. She died in a similar way with a surgery.
I think Bill Paxton also, he was going for a surgery and there was like a complication.
It happens sometimes.
It does.
Kanye's mom was...
Nobody's really at fault, though.
Kanye's mom was 58 years old when she died.
Sad facts of life.
And she died of coronary artery disease after an operation.
Yeah.
Like there was, a heart attack during an operation. Yeah. And she was younger than Scott Hall. And she didn't live the life that Scott Hall did. No. You know what I mean? She lived a relatively clean life as far as I know. A very clean life, I'm sure. Miss Donda West, big respect. We love you. But, it happens. So to say, well, wrestler demons, I mean, you could say that, but you could also say, well, he's 63 years old, and sometimes you go into operations and things happen,
And,
so,
I mean, we honestly didn't think he would live this long. These were almost like, bonuses, life's years that he's received, since he cleaned up. We never thought. And, at the very least, he got to, meet a lot of fans over the last few years. He got to hear about how much he meant to a lot of people. I've read a lot of stories today about people who, reached out to Scott Hall on Twitter, and then he would reach back and send them a note and, an autograph picture or something talking about how important it was that his fans, cared about him. So he did get to have that. in his life, which is good. He got to remember, sober, like how important he was. Like, I think if you make a list right now, like the top 5 important wrestlers, consequential to the business of, say, the last, 30, 40 years,
Yeah.
Scott Hall / Kevin Nash has to be near the top of the list.
Yeah.
Like maybe under Hogan or Austin.
Yeah, they're very important. I think if you're making it's hard to make a list of the most important guys, but Scott Hall is one of those guys that, like, you can't forget, you can't discount what he did and how important he was. Hall and Nash, those two guys together.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just Scott.
Yeah.
It was Scott and Kevin Nash, because those two guys,
they had the negotiation power.
They had the power, they had the mind, and the contracts kind of ran out at the same time with Vince, and the money wasn't coming, so they could go to WCW and work their deal. And then the guaranteed money started coming from WCW, which forced Vince McMahon to start giving his guys guaranteed money and better contracts. Like, they changed the pay scale for professional wrestling forever.
Mm-hmm. They also push, I think, for that favored nations clause. So, like, if they brought in someone,
that was their own deal.
Yeah.
I mean, that wasn't something they did that helped all wrestlers forever.
I thought a lot of guys
like that CM Punk.
That.
At one point, that CM Punk promo with Kevin Nash, right, that we were talking about before. Like, at one point, Punk is saying all these things like, Kevin Nash, get out of here. Nobody wants to see you anymore. And Nash is like, I think you should be saying, thank you, Mr. Nash, for getting you guys guaranteed money. I'm the reason why everybody gets the money that they're getting right now because I changed the business forever. And Punk kind of had nothing to say because Hall and Nash did change the business forever. And no matter what you may think about them and their politicking and everything, if you are a pro wrestler or a fan of wrestling, you got to give them their respect for helping change pro wrestling and getting the guys paid. But yeah, the favored nations clause was a different thing where they had to get the most money. I think at the time Sting was getting the most money in WCW, or Hogan. I mean, Hogan.
Yeah, it must have been Hogan.
I don't know. I feel like maybe Sting was getting more than Hogan. There was always that talk of Sting money, and they were like, we want to get Sting money. Whatever Sting is getting, we want to get that +1 or something,
Yeah.
Like,
or if someone came in and got paid more, they'd get a bump.
They would get that.
Oh,
like,
they get that.
They had to be the highest paid guys in the company. They came in, it's like, we have to make the most money of anybody in the company, like as much as the top paid guy. And if somebody comes in and you start paying him more, well, then you have to start paying us what you pay him. Like, that was a deal with Brett, I think, at the time, where Brett wanted a certain amount, like maybe, I don't know exactly, say hypothetically $4 million a year. Scott and Kevin were making $3 million, and Bischoff was like, I can't give you $4 million because then I'd have to bump Scott and Kevin up to $4 million too, and I can't afford all that now, like, so. But they were very smart, and Kevin and Scott, put their heads together, and I think Scott was smart enough to say, this Kevin Nash is pretty smart with business.
Yeah.
I'm going to listen to my big brother Kev, and he, and Kevin always took care of Scott Hall, and I feel for Kevin Nash right now a lot, because he's a good guy. I really like Kevin Nash. Of all the Click guys, I like Kevin Nash a lot. He's a good guy. He's a solid guy, Kevin Nash.
You interviewed him once.
Yeah, a couple times, I think. I like Kevin Nash or something. He's a good guy.
He's a straight shooter.
Yeah, he's a solid dude. And I feel for him and the whole Scott Hall family. But, he is a guy whose impact is still felt. A guy who inspired a lot of big men to do more in wrestling. Like, guys his size at that point weren't working the way he was, like if you saw a guy that was as tall and kind of jacked as he was at that time period, they didn't have the mobility and athleticism of Razor Ramon.
Axe handles, club in the back,
but he did more.
10 feet of strength.
And when he would hit that Razor's Edge again, like
the fall-away slam, such grace.
That's it, and he would hit it on everybody, and it was beautiful, and he had attitude with it. It wasn't just the great moves. It was like the way that
his stomps
Yeah,
were
the
beautiful.
stomps. Oh
His
my god.
stomps, like the way he would hold the rope and like his hair would bounce, like, and like you just felt this kind of like extra like fuck you.
And that look on his face too
Yeah.
when he would do it, like,
He meant
stomp.
it.
Yeah, it was great. And the way he took a punch as well, like he could sell his ass off.
And
Oh, he was good.
also like we were talking about the way he would take a loss often.
Yeah.
But by making it like he would engineer it that like he would like get tricked, and get like rolled up, and then like when he would emerge, he was like pissed off, and he would maybe start attacking his opponent after something, so that he wouldn't like lose any shine either. But he also got that guy over. Like people, you don't forget the guys who went over Razor.
Yeah.
It was a brilliant way of handling your character.
He wasn't afraid to take a loss, and that might be why he never became like the big champion. I think he might have been the WCW World Champion at one point. I feel like they tossed it around, but it's possible.
I don't know.
I don't know if he ever
did. Nash
did.
a lot. Nash won it a lot more.
I don't think he ever did.
He maybe wrestled Nash for it, but like I don't know if he beat Nash for it.
I don't think he ever did.
No.
He was never the big champion, which is surprising. He was never WWF champion, but they kind of kept it in a close circle back then.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not many guys got to be WWF champion.
No. Did he ever even have like a championship? He had one against Brett?
I'm sure he had
title
title matches.
Intercontinental Championship, I think his match with Brett at the Rumble.
He may have had a world title match with Brett at some point, too.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure he had title matches, but he never won the WWF or WWE title or the WCW World Heavyweight Championship, which is weird because they gave it to a lot of guys in WCW.
And his friends, too. His friends were the champion. Like,
All
you
his
would
friends.
think that, like, Sean would maybe be like, hey, let's have Razor, take the belt. I could drop the belt to Razor at
Kevin
SummerSlam.
Nash was a world champion in both companies.
Yeah, for a long time.
Scott Hall was never champion in either company.
Maybe,
But
he
I
must
think-
not have wanted it.
Well,
Or, maybe WCW at some point they were like, we can't trust Scott.
WCW and WWF. Like,
Yeah.
the guy, he had his demons, and I think that promoters looked at him as a guy that you can't put the big belt on because he may not be trustworthy. He may find himself in a sticky situation that you don't want your world champion in, and I think they looked at Kevin as more trustworthy, and that's why he got the belt. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
But goddamn, he was talented.
Yeah.
He was so damn good, and he had a hell of a run, and he will be missed. So, rest in peace, Scott Hall. Rest in peace, Razor Ramon.
The bad guy.
The bad guy. Say goodnight to the bad guy.
He got a Hall of Fame speech. I'm glad he got it. He got one of the best.
Oh, and it's iconic. Like, everything he did was so memorable. Like, he made sure to make everything important and like, oh, you remember Scott Hall's this or the way Scott Hall, his entrance, you remember it. His finisher, you remember it. Everything his promo, you remember it. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy how big he was. It was really like the giant period was like 92, 93 till about 2000, 2001. He was huge. It wasn't even 10 years. But during that 7-8 year period, he was one of the biggest
presence.
And he was one of the biggest stars pro wrestling has ever seen during that time.
Yeah.
He was bigger than anybody is today. Like, as far as notoriety and recognizability and shit, like a lot of people today, nowhere near the star. Like, even a Roman Reigns, now, more people knew Scott Hall in like 1998 than they do Roman Reigns right now.
Or
you know what I'm saying?
now, people wear
even
the
now.
NWO T-shirts.
Yeah.
If you say, oh, Scott Hall? Scott Hall, who's that? Oh, Razor Ramon. Oh, Razor? Oh, yeah, people remember Razor Ramon. He's just one of those names. It's like Macho Man, just like...
Yeah.
Wasn't always the number one guy, but it's a guy you can't forget anything about.
I think Macho Man is a pretty good comparison as far as how big of a star he was in his era. Like Macho in the 80s was, him, Hogan, 80s, early 90s, him, Hogan, Warrior at that point. But then in the mid-90s, it was, Hall, Nash, Michaels, Brett, Austin. Like, it was the guys in the NWO and the main WWF guys. Like there were some WWF guys that, Taker, and although Taker kind of took a backseat during that era, he was there, but he really wasn't as important as they make him out to be now.
Phantom of the Opera Taker.
Yeah,
and that
like there was
stuff.
a lot of shit that Taker did in like the mid to late 90s that just kind of was there, but
Wrestling
wasn't.
King Kong Bundy.
Yeah,
and
it wasn't that important.
the $1 Million Corporation.
Yeah,
and a lot of
that's
that
it.
stuff.
It was just kind of like, oh, here's the Undertaker's thing and whatever. But the main stuff, like, in WCW, it was like Hall, Nash, Hogan, Sting, and like pretty much everybody else until Goldberg showed up. Luger to a certain extent, but Luger was in and out. Giant a bit,
but he joined the NWO really fast.
And then he left WCW pretty soon after.
Yeah,
like he didn't last that long. But in WCW during the height of the NWO period, which is one of the biggest, it was Hogan, Hall, Nash.
Yeah.
Like
outsiders were
those
usually
guys,
the co-main event.
Yeah, and it was those guys against whoever,
Steiners.
Yeah. They were as big as and over as you can get in pro wrestling. Massive.
Yeah. Icon.
Yeah. In his era, just a legend. A legend of pro wrestling. He will be missed. Razor Ramon, the bad guy. All right, maybe a couple other things on Raw before we wrap this sucker up. What else happened on Raw?
And Becky had a little tussle.
Oh, okay, yeah. Bianca, she wrestled Doudrop, beats Doudrop after the KOD, and then Becky Lynch returned wearing a pretty cool gold jacket and gold pants. I like Becky's outfit tonight. She looked cool with that jacket. And she attacked Bianca and beat her up pretty good, and then wrapped Bianca in a steel chair and tossed her throat first in the chair into the ring post. And Becky says, next week it's the hair, bitch. But Becky didn't actually get on the mic, and her voice sounded a little hoarse because apparently in a house show match, Bianca damaged Becky's voice box, like her throat area, and she was hurt. So in the throat, some sort of injury with her voice and stuff, and there was talk that maybe Becky would be injured, and who knows what was happening, but here comes Becky, and she attacks Bianca, so I guess they're going to make this throat injury that Bianca did some sort of angle on Becky. It's, with Becky in the WrestleMania match. It's too bad they don't have footage of it to show, like, what exactly happened. But I guess it was like a botched move, so there's nothing
I think it was
they
like
could
a
really...
knee drop on the neck or something.
Yeah, well... You could still show it. I don't know. I'm surprised they're not showing the footage. Maybe they will. Maybe Becky does a promo next week and shows it and explains to you why she's going after Bianca's throat. But that was the Bianca Becky segment
That'll be one of the
tonight.
few promos where the audience is saying what because they can't hear what she's saying. They'll be
Yeah.
like, what? What'd you say?
I hope her voice isn't damaged too bad. She cut some of the best promos in the company. Like, of all the things to hurt on Becky Lynch, hurt her finger, break a finger or something. Don't damage the voice. She needs to cut
Break her nose.
promos. Yeah, don't do that either. Let's not hurt Becky Lynch, all right? She's one of the top stars in the company, and I'd rather hear a Becky Lynch promo than another one of those Edge promos.
Or Bianca's promos.
Or
rough,
Bianca's promo, or Randy and Riddle, The Mysterios wrestled the Hurt Business, Shelton and Cedric, and they beat them. Dominic hit a splash on Cedric. And then Miz and Logan Paul were on commentary, and they attacked the Mysterios after the match. But then Ray manages to fight off the Miz, tosses him out of the ring, and they had Logan Paul cornered. The Mysterios did. They set him up for the 619, but Miz manages to pull his buddy out of the ring, and Logan and Miz escape. A little bit surprised that they're using Logan Paul as much as they are. Like, he's showing up to Raw on a weekly basis now. He's a huge, huge star, and they're using him in this very minor, barely noticeable way on their TV show every week. Like, he's there, and it's like, oh, cool, Logan
must be
Paul.
paying
like,
him, too.
That's yeah, but what he's doing is so minor, and this match with the Mysterios means so little. But here he was again. Like, I'm surprised that he's showing up every week on Raw to promote this thing.
They must be contractually obligated.
Yeah.
What they signed him for a few dates.
Yeah.
And like
hasn't been very good. It's
obviously no.
It's a waste. I wonder how much they're paying him, because whatever it is, it's a waste of money, because every segment just falls flat. Like the one in Cleveland last week with Jerry Lawler, where it seemed like they should have cornered Jerry or done like, you don't have to attack him, but you could just kind of loom over him and have the Mysterios make the save, but nothing happened. They're just kind of, well, Jerry, we're going to beat Ray and Dominic at Mania, and you suck. And then they just leave.
Sucks.
And Cleveland sucks. Haha. And then they leave, and that was the whole promo.
Weird.
It was really flat. And then again this week, another flat segment, doing nothing to make me want to see Miz and Logan Paul against the Mysterios. Like, nothing.
I think they overestimated Logan Paul's heat-drawing ability. They thought every time he'd come out, he'd get like some kind of Vicky Guerrero heat.
Yeah.
But it's not quite happening. Because he's not really doing anything.
I think it's because they see this match as Miz and his celebrity partner and Ray and his son. Like, I think when you watch the WWE, you think Logan Paul maybe deserves to be there in a match more than Dominic Mysterio, who's there every week.
Yeah.
So Logan Paul's not really that hard to swallow, because we have to watch Dominic Mysterio.
That's true.
He's not intimidating, Dominic Mysterio. He does these moves that look, choreographed and not real in any kind of way.
And still sloppy.
And not great either. And then you have Logan Paul, who's one of the biggest stars in the world, a huge celebrity. He's got, millions and millions of YouTube views and followers and everything. And he sells pay-per-views. He's boxed Floyd Mayweather. Like, he's actually tough and has real fights that Dominic Mysterio would get slaughtered in. Like, if Dominic Mysterio boxed Floyd Mayweather, I don't think it would go so well for Dominic Mysterio. I don't even think Floyd could let him stay in that fight. He'd put him away. The Paul brothers, like him or don't like them, they are actually fighting real fights. So when you see Logan Paul in there, I think the natural reaction for wrestling fans is like, oh, boo, the celebrity outsider guy. But when it's up against Dominic Mysterio, I mean, you got Miz and Ray there. They're doing their thing. And then Dominic and Logan Paul. And it's kind of like, okay. And I haven't seen Logan Paul deliver like a vicious beatdown to Rey Mysterio to make you really... And if they do deliver the beatdown to Ray, it's also to Dominic. So you're like, yeah, all right.
Yeah, kick his ass.
I don't think a lot of people have a lot of sympathy or love for Dominic Mysterio, and I think that's one of the main reasons that you can't get any heat off of him for Logan Paul, because you see this match as, Miz and Ray as the real wrestlers, and I mean, Ray's a real wrestler. Miz, I mean, he's not
relatively.
He's no Scott Hall, I'll tell you that much. Miz is no Scott Hall, brother.
Oh,
he's no bad
Scott
guy.
Norton.
Yeah. Oh, he wishes he was Scott Norton. Scott Norton's a real badass.
Yeah, no.
But, you got Miz in there who's kind of and his partner Logan Paul, and then it's against Ray, and you're like, okay, Ray, but then Ray's son. So it doesn't really feel that, weird.
Yeah, and like, you imagine this match is to promote the video game because Ray's the cover athlete, the video game
Is
that
Logan
they just
Paul
released.
in the game?
I don't think so.
That's a missed opportunity.
I didn't even notice them mentioning the video game this week. Usually when the video game comes out, they like make a whole segment about it's a cover guy and everything. But they released their first game in 2 years. No, not a peep. It's strange.
Well, they talked about it a bit like the past few weeks, but now that it's out, I guess the promotion's done.
I guess so.
Yeah, but I think people see Logan Paul and then they see Dominic and they're like, yeah, seems about right.
It's a wash.
It's not even a wash. It's kind of like, well, Logan's more legit.
Yeah.
Logan is more legit than Dominic Mysterio. So, go Logan. But then Miz is there. She's like, nah. And then Ray's there. She's like, oh, Ray, go Ray. But then Dominic is there. She's like, it's just flat on every angle of this goddamn thing. And we're going to WrestleMania.
It'll probably be the match before, like, Roman and Brock. It'll probably be, like, high up on the card.
Yeah. Thank you, Jason, for renewing the membership. Don't forget to become a member if you're not already. Join.ringsidereport.net or click that join button beneath me here if you're watching on YouTube. Elsewhere, we had Damian Priest over Finn Balor. Damian hit his finisher, The Reckoning, after a distraction from Austin Theory, who was there ringside on commentary. Finn really distracted himself. He hit a dropkick on Austin Theory, goes back into the ring, and gets hit with Damian Priest's finisher. It was really Finn's fault. He decided to attack Austin Theory and then paid the price. It was a non-title match, so Finn didn't lose the newly won U.S. title, but Damian Priest did beat him, so you would assume Finn versus Damian Priest will happen at WrestleMania. Austin Theory was there, I guess, promoting his match with Pat McAfee.
They had a video package.
But he's also kind of in this feud with Finn Balor, right? Like, he keeps doing these things with Finn, so I figure Finn will wrestle at Mania, beat Damian Priest. Austin Theory will maybe beat Pat McAfee. I'm hoping he beats Pat McAfee with maybe interference from Vince or something.
That's what's probably going to happen. I think Vince is going to be at ringside.
And then I think they're just setting up Austin Theory versus Finn Balor post-Mania for the U.S. title. But
where Theory will probably win it.
But should we give them that much credit to have that much foresight into a U.S. title program? You know what I mean? Like, you're going to plant seeds for the Austin Theory Finn Balor program post-Mania for the U.S. title? Like, are they really putting that much effort into a U.S. title program? I doubt it. They have
plans for Austin Theory. I mean, if this year is the rise of Austin Theory, like if Austin Theory is going to be a champion by SummerSlam, like it could happen. You could have one of those things, those years where he's just booked incredibly strong. And it's like, Austin Theory pins Seth Rollins as the new Universal Champion.
They do like to have post-Mania Raw title changes, too. Like to pop the crowd and kind of give you something to talk about on the post-Mania Raw.
Set something up for Backlash.
You do Austin Theory versus Finn Balor for the U.S. title, and Theory wins, and then he's the new U.S. champion, and you go from there. I could see him being U.S. champion sooner rather than later because... why else are they doing this stuff with Austin Theory and Finn Balor? Austin Theory has nothing to do with Finn Balor and Damian Priest. It's not like he's going to be thrown into this match as a triple threat unless they're going to book Austin Theory for the Saturday WrestleMania and the Sunday WrestleMania because you can't get enough Austin Theory, but I don't think so.
Yeah. But I do feel like they have big plans for him.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like this year he's going to have, like, a lot of, like, wins.
He's
and,
a good heel.
A lot of establishing things. Like,
he's got a hittable face.
A champion.
He's got one of those faces you want to hit. He's got that, but he can wrestle. He's talented. But he's got, like, an annoying kind of way about him. He's irritating.
He's like a Miz who can work.
Yeah, I don't dislike him, but I don't like him because he is kind of annoying. Like, there's something annoying about him, like, legit annoying. But I think he's just a good heel. I'm not sure yet. So far, he's just kind of irritating. But he's good at wrestling. Like, his matches are pretty good. He can take good bumps. He's powerful. He's a big enough guy.
Got a good moveset.
Yeah, he's good, Austin Theory. But
his finisher's pretty good, too.
His promos are a bit weird and, not great. Like, the promos are a bit annoying and not... Like, the stuff with Vince, the way he reacts to Vince, it's not the best.
And the selfie stuff.
Yeah, the selfie stuff is just kind of, all right.
Reminds me of Tyler Breeze.
Yeah. It's not great.
Not in a good way, though.
Okay, Omos wrestled Commander Aziz tonight.
Giant bull.
I mean, this was pretty short. There was a lot of Omos yelling at Apollo Crews, who was ringside for this one. And I was just thinking, God damn, this is where Apollo Crews is going. He's got to be wondering, when's my contract up? Or am I going to get fired soon? Like, he is not anywhere right now. What's Apollo Crews' plan for WrestleMania? None. Omos beats Commander Aziz tonight, hits his choke bomb, and then choke slams Apollo Crews after the match for good measure. But this, it wasn't as bad as it could have been. Aziz took a clothesline, bumped over the top rope. It was very short.
It was pretty much a squash. I don't think Omos took any kind of... He took like a punch to the gut, I think, but nothing really.
Yeah.
So...
He squashed Commander Aziz.
He showed he is the superior giant.
Yeah. Like, there's two giant guys, and Omos is the better one. I was just hyped to see this. I kind of wanted to see it go a little longer because I thought it could just devolve into a total mess of a match, which is sometimes fun to see because otherwise it's just boring. But, yeah, just a quick little thing.
Yeah, he's definitely winning the Andre Battle Royal.
Oh, yeah. If he doesn't, they've messed up. Like, he should.
He should eliminate every other guy.
Yeah, he should have an impressive showing.
Yeah.
Do something with Omos. Like, if we're going to sit through all this Omos stuff, there better be a payoff. Like, it's a build to something with Omos,
Yeah.
right? Like the AJ Styles thing and now this run where he's squashing people. It's a build of Omos to something. The payoff better be good. It better be something good.
We'll see.
I don't know what they do to pay off Omos in the end. Like, do they have him on this undefeated streak where he's unstoppable and he goes up against Roman Reigns in a match? Like, I don't.
That's what it feels like could happen.
But he's a heel. Do they turn him babyface somehow? It's hard to turn that guy
Does
babyface.
Roman turn back babyface?
I don't think so. I think he's going to stay heel for another year, stay in this character until he faces Dwayne next year, and then who knows?
Maybe they'll try to make Omos babyface.
Build Omos over the next year to the point where he could turn babyface, or keep him as a heel for the next year, have Roman beat Rock, turn babyface next year Mania, and then post-Mania, here's the giant Omos challenging Roman, and you're like, oh shit, this guy's been unstoppable for like a year, and now we love Roman because he beat Dwayne, and we don't like Dwayne for some reason. I don't know how they do that. I don't know. I think you could turn Roman babyface after The Rock.
Yeah,
and
kind of promo.
And if you build
Talk about how
Omos,
much he loves The Rock.
and if you build Omos really strong, just kind of on the undercurrent where he could do squash matches, maybe have a little program with this guy or that guy, but not be on the show all the time and not be featured all the time. So you're not like he's not shoved down your throat where you're like, oh well, they're obviously building Omos for
like
this.
A Great Khali kind of.
Yeah, like don't make it too obvious, but keep building him when you're like every time you see him, he crushes somebody. And then eventually he steps out and he's like Roman. And you're like, damn. Or whatever top babyface they have as a champion, maybe on the Raw brand or whatever. But I'd say, have him win the Andre Battle Royal this year. And then maybe next year have him maybe as like a U.S. champion. And the year after as like a world champion contender. And all of a sudden, But
we'll see.
We'll see with Omos. Like, because he's not ready now. I'll tell you that much. He's not ready for the big time now, but if you slow build him, maybe he can get ready in time.
Maybe.
In a couple of years.
Maybe. Depends on what he wants to do, and I don't know, like he doesn't come from a wrestling background, so if he really wants to put in the work to get to that level, I don't know, because I don't think it's just going to be handed to him. Like a lot is going to be handed to him. But I don't think like a win over Roman Reigns is going to be handed to him. If anything, like it depends how much effort he puts in.
They can get him there, though.
Yeah.
He is. Guess how old he is?
He's young.
He's young.
He's like 27?
Bingo. 27, exactly. I mean, that big, 27 years old, not great, but not the worst giant I've ever seen. You know what I mean? If you could make him a star in the main event by the time he's 30, I think you got
solid years after that.
Yeah, you got 5 to 10 years of good stuff you could do with him. Like, people see him and they're like, that's a joke.
Mm-hmm.
In 2 or 3 years, he might be a real, serious professional wrestler and a big star in the company. If you look at him, why wouldn't he be?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I see that guy, I'm like, damn. If he can wrestle this much and talk this much, he should be massive.
But
we'll see.
We'll see. I don't know. Like, he's green as grass. And the WWE doesn't really have any kind of like, all their big men, have gone to AEW. The people you assume would like be a mentorship role for Omos, like a Big Show or a Mark Henry.
Yeah.
And they're not with the company right now.
Give him Undertaker's phone number. Let him text Taker every day and like ask him, Taker will help.
Kane.
Yeah, those guys will help.
Kane's not busy.
Kane's not busy at all. Yeah. Kane's on Twitter saying shit,
Yeah, exactly. He could. I'm sure he put some time in the Performance Center.
That's right. Doug Hepburn dropping a super chat. He says, "Great job with the Razor segment. You guys are great at this. Thank you, Doug. Thank you, Doug." Angelo says we're the best. Thank you, Angelo.
We love Razor.
Yeah, I mean, thank you. I try to do
we
him
can
justice.
keep going, about Razor.
We could talk about Razor Ramon over and over. The guy is he's one of the greatest of all time, and the opportunity to talk about Razor doesn't come around every day, so we could talk about Razor all day. I love Razor.
Yeah, We
love
didn't
me
even like
some
mention
Razor.
our favorite like promo line of it though. If you think
Oh
you
yeah,
could beat me,
you got another
brother,
thing coming. What was that?
it feels like WCW, but like that
Man.
cadence that you
Yeah.
people
You
know who I
people-
am, but you don't know why I'm here. Like, it's fucking great. It's so
Yeah.
natural.
He had this cool way of talking. Nobody talked like him. He was
line,
amazing.
That's such a killer line. That just sums up so much right away. You know who I am. Don't know why I'm here.
He was fantastic. He was, he's one of the best ever. So
The most important.
we'll miss Scott Hall, one of the greatest pro wrestlers of all time, one of the most important wrestlers of all time. Wrapping up this Raw recap, we had Liv Morgan over Zelina Vega. The match was not too bad, right?
Yeah, not too bad. Liv Morgan hit like a power bomb from the corner, and it was not no botches.
Yeah.
Solid.
Liv hit her finisher on Zelina and then pinned her after kind of a distraction from Rhea Ripley, who was advancing on Carmella. Like, Rhea Ripley is Liv Morgan's tag team partner. The match at WrestleMania is Rhea and Liv versus Zelina and Carmella versus Sasha and Naomi. And Rhea, what?
I think possibly Natty and some tag team partner might
Maybe Shayna?
get
But-
slotted into. But I think
I don't
Natty
know.
is going to find a way, and I've read a rumor that they'll find a way to put.
Oh,
Natty
that'd be
in
good.
there.
I like Natty. She
So
deserves
2 teams
a spot.
from Raw, 2 teams from SmackDown.
Where's Beth Phoenix? Let's get her in there. I don't know why they don't use Beth Phoenix more.
It's because
Like-
of Edge. They don't want to associate her with Edge.
I guess, but she could do her own thing, and I don't really think of her with Edge. I think of her as the Glamazon who could be Natty's partner, and then you just put her there. I
Elevate
honestly,
the match.
I still don't. I would have loved to have seen Becky versus Beth Phoenix at WrestleMania. I'm a little disappointed we're not going there. Beth looked great in those tag team matches. I think she could still wrestle. She's one of the greatest women's wrestlers of all time, and I'm really surprised that the WWE doesn't try and use her more in big matches. But hey, maybe they'll prove me wrong and have her as Natty's surprise partner at Mania, but I don't know. So Liv beat Zelina. Rhea Ripley was ringside. She starts going after Carmella a little bit, just kind of walking towards her. Carmella decides to run and jump on top of Corey Graves, who's her fiance, and she kind of uses him as cover. So Rhea Ripley doesn't attack her with Corey Graves for some reason, which is like, why not?
Yeah, why not?
Just get them both. And then Zelina looks mad at Carmella. She seems to blame Carmella for this, but, I mean, Rhea Ripley was the one who was kind of going after Carmella. Carmella just ran away. Why are you looking at that, Zelina? Look at Liv Morgan. I don't know how Zelina's supposed to blame Carmella for this loss, but that's the story right now. Carmella's all thinking about Corey Graves during the matches. Like last week they had a match, and she was like just sitting ringside with Corey and not tagging Zelina. That I can understand why Zelina's mad, and she's still mad about that. But this week it's like you're in a singles match, and Rhea Ripley's going after your tag team partner. How does this cause you to lose the match? It was weird.
They couldn't figure out a better way to make it look like they're being driven apart.
Not a great finish.
Honestly, like all this, it makes it feel like too obvious, and that like Carmella and Zelina will actually retain at Mania because it just seems too obvious they'll like break up. Or maybe they'll lose because who cares?
I think they'll lose.
Because who cares?
I think they have to lose.
Yeah.
To either Rhea and Liv or Sasha and Naomi. I think Sasha and Naomi.
Yeah.
Sasha being in this match is just weird. I see Sasha as like the biggest star in this match by far. And the fact that she's in it is kind of demeaning to Sasha Banks.
Maybe she's not 100% healthy.
I don't know.
And she needs like a tag team match, so
She was on the poster for that house show that we went to,
She wasn't there, so
but she wasn't on the show.
maybe she's got some nagging issues.
Or maybe her nagging issue is lack of creative direction in WWE.
Imagine if she gets let go.
I mean, if she can wrestle, she's going to wrestle in this match. You got Naomi in this match, Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley, Carmella, Zelina, and then the boss, Sasha Banks. It's like, what the hell is this? What's Sasha doing here? And then you look at Becky. Becky's wrestling Bianca for one of the belts. Charlotte's wrestling Ronda for one of the belts. Bailey's still hurt, or I guess. I don't know. And Sasha's in a tag team with Naomi that's just been slapped together with all these other kind of mid-level.
Hey, they are former members of Team Bad.
Yeah, I know, but, you know.
I don't know if they ever mentioned that.
But it's like a kind of mid-level match, and then all of a sudden you have Sasha Banks in it, and you're like, what's Sasha doing here?
Just to add a name and to give her a spot.
Well, that's it. That's all they had for
Yeah.
WrestleMania.
Yeah, Bianca, her promo sucked tonight. It was another, like, you know,
Yeah,
the
Bianca's
rules.
like, well, I only whipped Becky with my hair because Becky grabbed my hair and wrapped it around the ring ropes earlier in the match. So technically, she cheated first. So I'm not so bad. And it's like, all right, Bianca, we get it.
Whoever's writing her promos.
It's really weird. She's always like just a stickler for the rules. That's Bianca
Yeah.
Belair's gimmick.
And
technically,
we're supposed to cheer for that.
Because I'm the best. And it's like, well, if you're the best, like, why you gotta be such a stickler for the rules? Like, shouldn't you win no matter what the rules are?
Yeah.
Yeah. Shut up. You know?
Kiss my butt.
Doug Hepburn says, Sasha is Batman in a James Bond movie, bringing that old reference back. Never gets old. That's a classic one. That was a good one.
Oh, yeah. But I wonder if maybe she has some injury issues, and she just can't work a singles match, or she because you know she's been like on and off. You know, there was that.
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
possible.
Was it SummerSlam where it was like she was supposed to show up and she did, or Rumble, where it was like
Well, it was SummerSlam when she couldn't be there, and then Becky was there. But I don't.
Yeah.
Was it an injury or was it COVID back then?
Yeah. But there's been questions about Sasha. Maybe there's some kind of issue.
She hasn't been around much.
And, you know, we've been watching her career for a long time. She's taken a lot of neck bumps, a lot of, like, nasty bumps. You know, she, like, lands, like, pretty.
Yeah.
You know, she's still pretty young. Another thing is, too, I think she's in that Mandalorian show, the Star Wars show.
Yeah, she's busy.
I think she might be shooting that.
All right.
And she can't really say she's shooting that because it's a Disney Star Wars hush-hush close set. So
I could
maybe
see her just
she's
doing
just doing that.
Yeah, I could see
just
that being the deal with Sasha.
If it's not injury, she's just doing Star Wars.
She's just too busy, and, you know, her WWE schedule is such that she can't commit to too much, and WWE says, okay, well, we'll still use you just in a limited capacity, and there you go. That's possible. Where's Alexa Bliss? You remember
Who gives a damn?
I know, but do you remember all that Alexa Bliss stuff? And then she came back in the chamber?
Yeah.
Wrestled in the chamber. Has she been on TV since?
Yeah, those therapy segments were before.
Yeah.
I feel like she might have been on the Raw after Chamber.
I don't know.
But, like, she lost a match to Bianca? That
was in the chamber.
That was in the chamber. We were cheering for Bianca because we wanted her to win.
I don't think she's been seen since the chamber.
Maybe she got hurt?
Maybe.
Or they got nothing for her. But they seem to sell a lot of, like, Lily
it's weird.
merch. And,
it's
like,
weird that she hasn't been around for a while.
Alexa merch.
I don't miss her, but it's just weird. Where's AJ Styles? Is he hurt or?
I don't know why he hasn't been.
Why isn't he on? He's still selling the thing from Edge.
Yeah, they showed a tweet from AJ. Say I think he'll be on next week, and he said that Edge had a stupid haircut. Which, well, Edge's hair looks weird. AJ Styles is not the person who should be talking about who's got a ridiculous looking haircut.
I think it looks good on him though.
The AJ haircut?
Yeah.
I mean, it's got a bit longer. When he came in, it was like kind of like a little like soccer mom kind of bob.
I never had a problem with AJ Styles' hair. I think AJ Styles' longer hair looks good on him. It's way better than, like, I don't know if you remember old AJ Styles, like Phenomenal One, AJ Styles.
Oh, like the little short kind of.
The little, like, buzz cut with no beard.
Yeah.
Like the short little, like, it was like almost like an army cut, like the square top haircut that he had going.
Top,
yeah, that was not that good as a look for AJ Styles. This current look is way better.
Yeah.
If you compare the two, I mean, you know, a man's only got so many options for his hairstyle.
I know. Imagine a shaved head.
I mean, I don't know. I mean,
what? Hey, my hair's nicer looking.
I
than
don't
AJ
know.
Styles.
I don't think so. I think
Hey.
AJ's got better hair than you, brother.
Well,
I think you need a haircut, brother. That's what I think.
He's got a hair team. When he goes to the arena, there's just people working on it.
Yeah, well, somebody needs to work on yours. Charmel going into the Hall of Fame, brother. Booker T.
I want to induct your wife.
I want to induct your wife.
Not just kind of any induction.
So Booker T, Queen Sharmell going into the Hall of Fame, and Booker T is gonna induct her. I wonder if he'll have nice things to say about Sharmell, his wife.
I hope so.
I mean, yeah. It's just like,
Yeah.
who's gonna induct her? Ah, Booker. Oh, okay.
Because, it's like, I mean, Sharmel's a memorable character.
I don't know.
Like,
Kind of.
For
For a bit. WWE Hall of Fame, I was a little surprised. I was like, her? But,
her.
yeah.
Was she funny or something?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really understand Sharmell going into the Hall of Fame, but I don't hate it because I do love Sharmell, so I'm good with it.
Yeah.
She's a great character. I thought she was fantastic. She seems like a nice lady. I think she's great. So I'm a fan of her husband's, of course. So yeah, sure, put Sharmell in the Hall of Fame. They're in Texas. They want to induct Texas people. There's Sharmell. They're inducting Undertaker, Sharmell, and Vader.
He's from Texas?
Big Van Vader. No, he's from Colorado, I think.
Yeah, that's right, from the Rocky Mountain.
Yeah, but they're inducting him because usually I think they're doing a smaller class of Hall of Fame.
So they want to put it on TV.
Yeah, and usually they do like a main event headliner, and it may sound callous to say this, but a woman and a dead guy.
Yeah.
That's usually how they do it.
A tag team.
And a tag team.
An old promoter, maybe.
They have a wing for that
either
now.
like an old promoter or like a guy from another country who like maybe wrestled once for WWF.
And sometimes they'll pad the roster with a couple mid-carders or whatever.
Coco Beware.
Yeah, that's it. Like they'll have a few people. But, for the most part.
Godfather.
Well, here's usually the rule for the Hall of Fame. Every year they will induct somebody posthumously, right? Which means after that they're dead, right?
So many.
And they'll do that. They'll only do one because they don't want to make it a bummer of a shit thing where like everybody's dead that we're inducted, right? So they'll do one, but they always do one because it makes sense to do them. And then they'll always induct a woman into the Hall of Fame because, but usually they'll just do one, sometimes two, but usually just one. It does make sense to do because there are a lot of women deserving, and you should kind of throw that in there. But usually it's kind of like a, rule like, we're going to induct one of the divas in the Hall of Fame this year, Candice Michelle, and it's like, what?
Last year was the Bella Twins.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, but I'm just saying.
But some of them, you're kind of like, some of them, it's like, we need a woman to induct in the Hall of Fame. Kelly, come on down. You're like, what?
Did she get inducted?
I don't know.
Not
they
yet.
might as well.
Not yet.
Didn't they induct, like...
They inducted Jacqueline.
Didn't they induct, like, Eve Torres or something? Or Candice? I think they inducted Eve Torres.
I don't think so.
Or Candice Michelle, maybe. Somebody like that.
They didn't induct Tori. They can induct Tori Wilson. They should. Or Stacy Keibler. She should be a Hall of Famer.
Tori Wilson got inducted in the Hall of Fame. Yes.
She did?
Yes. For sure.
Oh, yeah, like a couple years ago?
Not that long ago.
Maybe like 2019? Yeah, last year.
Yeah, not that long ago.
I forget who was inducted last year.
Yeah. But Tori Wilson, I'm pretty sure, is in the... Yeah, she got inducted by Stacy Keibler in 2019. Yeah, she's in the WWE Hall of Fame. Ivory's been inducted in the WWE Hall of Fame. But see,
Ivory.
2018, there's one woman inducted. 2019, one woman inducted.
I saw Molly Holly there.
2017, Beth Phoenix got inducted. She was the one woman. You know what I mean? Like they do one. 2016, it was Jacqueline. 2015, it was Alundra Blaze.
Oh, yeah.
2014, it was Lita. 2013, it was Trish Stratus. They just kind of... And then 2012, they didn't have that rule back then, so they had no women inducted.
Yeah. Like before that, they only really inducted like May and Moolah.
I guess Candice Michelle and people... Oh, Molly Holly was inducted last year, and she was the only woman inducted.
So Bellas were 2 years ago, I guess?
But then, look how much you have to do as a woman to get inducted. Yeah, Bellas were 2 years ago, but I think they did all of them last year because they didn't do one 2020.
Right.
So the Bellas and Molly Holly all went in kind of in the same year, even though it was 2021 and 2020. Yeah.
Well, there's still plenty more, deserving.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like Molly Holly, she got into the Hall of Fame the same year as Great Khali, and you're like,
Great Khali?
Yeah, that's it. It's like, what the hell are you talking about, man? Like, okay, Molly Holly, and then Great Khali. Like, couldn't you induct like a couple other women instead of Great Khali?
Yeah.
Like, did you have to only induct one woman last year, and it had to be Molly Holly? Like, you couldn't have inducted
Mickey
Molly Holly
James.
and Mickey James last year, and then kind of skipped out on Great Khali. You know what I mean?
Victoria.
Yeah. I don't know why they have to only induct one woman a year. Couldn't they induct
inducted
more?
Jazz? I love Jazz.
No, Jazz is not inducted. Now that I'm looking back on all the women inducted, there's a lot that have not been.
We're saying, like, we thought Michelle McCool was. She wasn't.
I mean, how about
Or
China?
Layla.
How about China?
They did China. Or as, like, DX.
Part of DX.
It's part of DX.
She should be inducted on her own.
But they won't
for the
do
Impact.
That. They won't do that.
Sunny is in the Hall of Fame, I think.
Sunny is in the Hall of Fame.
As she
in
should be.
between arrests.
I want to
She
see.
made the ceremony.
Yes. Sunny's out of jail right now, I think.
I think she went back. I think she got arrested again.
I think she got out, though. I think she's out. Because I follow her on Twitter just to see if she's in or out of jail. And she's like posted like, "Hey, sign up to my OnlyFans
because
for
I
like."
need bail money.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think she's always kind of promoting her OnlyFans, which hit me up on Super Chat so we could sign up for that and see that what's going on there. We need to see that.
But yeah, there's plenty of women still that could be. Yeah, they could totally induct. You know, they can induct Molly Holly and like
Sable,
Gail
baby.
Kim.
Where's Sable? Melina.
Yeah. Layla.
Good God Almighty! I'm surprised that
AJ Lee.
Michelle McCool. Yeah, what? Right. Michelle McCool.
You could do it for a Hall of Fame. Just have her show up for
I
that,
don't think
not
Michelle's
Mania.
been inducted, right?
No.
Michelle is not in the Hall of Fame.
It's only a matter of time.
And with her husband, the dead man, getting inducted this year, I thought it would make sense to kind of throw her in the Hall of Fame too.
Yeah, or Lay Cool.
I think she's going to be in the Hall of Fame. It's just a matter of time. But they have not inducted her yet. But they're inducting Taker this year, maybe Michelle next year. And there you have it. Charmel going into the WWE Hall of Fame.
Good for her.
Doug Hepburn, thank you. You are our Super Chat leader tonight. We are wrapping this sucker up. We want to thank you all for joining us tonight here on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitch on the Ringside Report Network. It's been a fun show. Trying to keep it fun despite the fact that we lost the great Razor Ramon today. It's fun remembering the good times with the bad guy. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
It's fun remembering
I've been
how
watching a lot of
awesome he
clips.
was. Yeah, I mean, he was so much fun. He was just fun to watch. So thank you. Doug Hepburn, you're the Super Chat leader tonight. Thank you to Harold Schneider as well for dropping a Super Chat. Shout out to all the members, Angelo Contagonis, Doug Hepburn, Harold Schneider, Ray Cruz, Jason Pete, Rob Cluse, Anthony Plesia, all the members checking in here tonight on the show. Appreciate you guys supporting the Ringside Report Network and watching us live here on a Monday night. AJ got his Instagram and Facebook hacked, and he got it back. I got a message from AJ on Instagram telling me that he's made $13,000 in
Working from home?
No, in cryptocurrency.
Oh.
And I need to click on this link and join him and do crypto. And I'm like, I don't think AJ knows what cryptocurrency is. And there was no hashtags or emojis.
Or bro. Or...
Yeah, well, no, it's the hashtags and emojis that always accompany any AJ message. And there were no hashtags and no emojis. So I thought, oh, this is suspicious. Also, AJ doesn't know what crypto is, let alone making like $13,000. Like,
Yeah,
I invested $100 and I made $13,000 overnight. You could do it too. And I'm like, no, you didn't, AJ. This is not AJ
Bullshit.
doing this. And then the next one was like, look at my house. And it's like this house in California. And I'm like, how did he make all this happen?
Imagine if it was true, though. Because
I was like,
AJ...
I was like, I'm pretty sure I talked to him like earlier in the day. And then somehow he's made like $13,000 in a day in crypto. And that has afforded him $1 million home in California that he's already bought, paid for, and is living in and sending pictures from. And you're like, well, how did all this happen in a day? That's when I started to suspect maybe my friend had been hacked.
Or his buddy Harvey Keitel hooked him up.
You know what I think? I think it's one of the Ringside Report MMA viewers that is mad at AJ. I have a theory. I've not told AJ my conspiracy theory, but my theory is it is one of the viewers because 2 weeks ago, the Team Fred parlay paid off. Okay? Mm-hmm. Team Fred, he gave like 3 picks. They all won. The payout was good. Team Fred parlay pays off.
AJ lost out?
No, AJ, yeah, of course AJ's parlay lost, but AJ's always telling you he's right, but his parlay lost, right? Then last week for the UFC, my parlay won, the Team Dave parlay. I had 3 fights. I gave them to you. I had Mustafayev, I had Pereira, and I had Ankalaev. Of course, they all came through. I also had Ankalaev by decision, which came through, right? So we had all this stuff. All these parlays coming through. First Fred, then me. But AJ hasn't come through in a parlay for a long time. So I think it's one of the viewers that's upset with AJ for his shitty picks because he can't win parlays like Team Dave and Team Fred. So somebody hacked him because they're disappointed with his terrible UFC selections.
Got revenge.
It's revenge on AJ.
That'd be a good premise for a movie.
I think
someone wants revenge on a sportscaster because they keep giving them bad picks.
I think it was Doug. I think Doug Hepburn did it. Doug Hepburn, you hacked AJ because of his bad picks. I hope somebody went with Team Dave parlay last week because it won. The Team Dave parlay cashed in. The 3-pick parlay doubled your money with Team Dave, and we will give you more winning picks this Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Ringside Report MMA. Oh, Doug bet on the Canadian woman. Why did you bet on her? Bet against her. I bet against her. You bet on J.J. Aldrich, not Jillian Robertson, Doug. I bet on J.J. That was one of my picks on Twitter. You got to follow me on Twitter and see the picks there, too. I post picks the day of the fights. I had J.J. Aldrich as a plus 100 or plus 110 underdog, something like that. Slight underdog. She came through. She won. Brian Firth dropping a super chat. Thank you, Brian. Says, thanks, guys. Still waiting on my backpack. We will get that backpack to you, Brian. I don't know where that is. Maybe lost in shipping. I don't know. We'll look into it. We'll figure it out for you. We'll get it to you. And that's it. Thank you, everybody, for supporting the Ringside Report Network. I will see you again Wednesday night with Johnny North after Dynamite in San Antonio, the Big Thunder Rosa Britt Baker steel cage match for the AEW Women's title on Wednesday on Dynamite, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. We will be back here talking AEW with you. And then, of course, again, 8 p.m. Eastern for Ringside Report MMA on Thursday at 8, and Friday at 10 after SmackDown with Johnny again for Wrestling Uncensored for the post-SmackDown show. And that's it.
That's the show.
That's it. 2 more Raws before Mania, baby.
We're on the road.
We're on the road to
the
WrestleMania.
home stretch. Almost.
Oh, Brian, you've received a refund. The backpack is no longer available, so there's no backpack. We don't have the backpack, Brian. Stop waiting. You got your money back. There's no backpack. All right. I'm glad we got that sorted out. Thank you, guys, and I will be back here Wednesday night after Dynamite on the Ringside Report Network.